Hey everybody, welcome back to the Painted Springs Garage YouTube channel. Today, I'm taking a snowblower and making it into an air compressor. So what we're doing here essentially is taking this snowblower, which has a horizontal shaft engine here, and when you pull the lever on the snowblower, all that it really does is tension the belt. So it's a really good platform to add an air compressor head here where the auger would have been, where the auger used to be. If I add an air compressor head here, then I can use this engine on this nice convenient platform with wheels to make compressed air instead. And I might even have enough room in here to add a small air tank, or I can just use an auxiliary tank that I'd run an air line to. But the first thing I want to do is add some steel that goes across here. This is a little bit too long, so I'll have to shorten that down. But what I'm thinking is if I take a couple steel bars and put them across here, and I have to make a mount so I can put it in just the right spot and maybe even remove it. But I have an air compressor head here, and I'm gonna remove this fitting, put a different fitting on it. But here's the mounts, so I can just run a couple of bolts through there. I'm thinking I bolt it to a steel bar. Then on the end, maybe I just put these little brackets on it, and I could go this way or I could go this way depending on how they fit. But I need to cut these down a little shorter. I need to cut these bars down to a length that fits, and see where it's going to mount up, what position it mounts up, so that this shaft is at the right, the right height, right position, to be driven by that engine on the snowblower. And it's really convenient. This is the pulley from the snowblower auger, and this is the pulley for that compressor head, and they're actually basically the exact same size. I mean, really, really close. So once I get this compressor head mounted up there, where this pulley will be positioned, it should fit perfectly. So let's get some steel cut to size, and we'll get a couple of bars that are made the right size to fit in there, and get this compressor head installed on this snowblower body. Well, I've got one of these brackets built now, and you can see I welded on the ends, although I'm not the greatest welder, but it'll hold. This end looks a little bit better. This is going to slide with some resistance, which actually is what I want, fit in here, but fit in here snug. And it's gonna, sit kind of like this. So now I need to build one more that's going to sit over on this side. Get one more of these brackets, and I'll be able to bolt the air compressor to this and have the shaft come through this hole. I also need to grind this here down flush so I can get the air compressor as tied up against this as possible. So let's build another one of these brackets and grind that down and keep on moving along here.
3:28 a.m.
Well, I'm at a point now where I have this little frame built that the air compressor can bolt to, so that's pretty sturdy now. And I've got both sides of the compressor here, or of the snowblower. I got these cleaned up, ground down, so I've got some good surface to weld to. So now I really just got to get this like mocked up into position. Then I can weld these feet to the sides, and maybe I'll have to do a little bit of reinforcement, but I almost have the compressor mounted to the snowblower body. And once that happens, I think I'll be on the home stretch to getting this fired up. So I got this thing tack welded into place. I had to add a very crooked bracket over here to get something to weld to. But that's in there, tacked in. I got these guys tacked in on the compressor side too. So now I'm going to pull the compressor back off this bracket so I can get in there and actually weld those up a little more complete. Weld these guys up the rest of the way. And then we are really close to firing this thing up. Wow, it's starting to look like something that might actually compress air. That compressor head mounted in here where the auger would usually be on the snowblower. And since the pulley is like identical size nearly to what the auger pulley was for the snowblower, it fits perfectly. And on the snowblower, it's got this handle. You basically just pull this and that engages the auger. And because this is all mounted up in the same location as the auger pulley, that mechanism works to engage the compressor. So I want to give this thing a test run, but my fuel tank is just kind of sitting in there loosely. So I'll have to secure that somehow, put a little bit of gas in it. Then we'll see if this thing runs and compresses any air. So one more thing I have here, kind of expensive piece of hardware, is a pilot unloader valve. And this is going to make the air compressor work like a gas air compressor should. And this, I can set the pressure that I want, the max pressure. It goes from, 95 to 125 psi. So whatever I set that pressure to, once it gets there, there's a valve here that will open and excess air will vent out of here. So the compressor can just keep running, but the air tank isn't, getting overfilled, overpressurized. The air will vent out of here. And this also has a port for a pilot, which I need to get a plug for that for now. But the pilot will let me in the future hook up a solenoid so that when I reach the set pressure and the relief valve opens, the vent valve, it will also divert air to this pilot valve, and I can use that for a throttle control solenoid. So it would close the throttle or open the throttle. That way when it's venting pressure, it would also idle the engine down. And when the vent closes, because I need more pressure, it'll turn the engine RPM back up. But initially, I'll plug that. In the future, I'll probably add a solenoid to control the throttle. Well, I've got this to a point where I can test the compressor, I hope. I got the compressor head down here. I put this body back on the snowblower for the sake of being able to put the gas tank back on here, as well as the controls, the primer, all of that stuff. And in fact, this even has electric start, so I got a button back here. I can plug an extension cord into that to start the engine. Then once I get this running, I'm basically going to put a zip tie around the handle here so I can keep the belt engaged. Then I'll just be able to pull the key to shut it off. And this hose here is connected to the compressor, but it just has a male fitting. There's no restriction. I should be able to feel air puffing out of there once it's running. And that'll tell me that it's at least compressing air. Then I can put everything on here to actually fill a tank with air. But the first thing is, let's make sure it's compressing air. So I'm going to open the door, get this thing fired up, and we'll see if it compresses some air. right, well that's really something, but it does compress air. So that's a huge step in the right direction here. Now I just need to connect this up to the actual valving and put a connection on it for an air tank. So we're most of the way there at this point. I could even just connect this straight to an air tank and make compressed air. In fact, let's do that right now. Alright, so this air tank has about 80 psi in it. So I'm going to take this line and just stick it on there. Then let's fire this back up and see if we can't get some more air in there. Well, there you have it. Went up from 80 to about 100 psi there in not a real long time. So now I can disconnect this air line. And yeah, let's hook up some actual safety pressure stuff. Then we can just let this do its thing. Yeah, pretty much autonomously. So almost there. All right, everyone. So I got the snowblower set up here so I can fill my tires. It's an air compressor now. That compressor is plugged into my unloader valve, which goes to an air tank, which goes to my tire pressure or my tire filler. So let's get this guy fired up. Right now the tank has about 110 psi, so I'll fire this up. This should keep that pressure while I go and fill all the tires. One tire from about 15 psi up to 30 psi. The less off-road this weekend, so it's only 15. And the air tank is still right just below 110, so it's almost keeping up with real-time filling tires. Down 10 psi on the air tank, so the compressor's really doing a good job of keeping pace. You know, if I was going through and filling up tires on our whole fleet while we're off-roading, I think this can keep up real time. So, thanks for watching. Hope you found this video useful. I'll see you next time.